Hey, I'm Daniel Berger, and this is Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Welcome to the podcast where Metro New York real estate meets great stories and a douse of humor. Forget the dry sales talk. Here we dive into the fun and unexpected moments of real estate. Join me each week as we explore Westchester, Long Island, the Bronx, and more. You'll hear about the people, the places, and the crazy situations that make this industry so interesting. Thanks to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, we're ready to share the lighter side of real estate. Whether you're a pro, a buyer, or just curious, we've got something for everyone. Ready for today's adventure? Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker with Daniel Berger. Today, I'm excited to have Castus Stonys. He is a broker with the Corcoran Group who focuses on sales in Brooklyn and New York City. What a way to have those as your markets. Those are huge. He emigrated in, I think, 2001 from Lithuania. Seems like your background, you did some criminal justice type of psychology work, which seems to be a good one for getting into real estate. And you've been doing this for about 10 years. I think you've closed over 100 million in sales. And I think in 2015, you were named Street Easy agent on the agent advisory board. And with that, I want to welcome you to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for the introduction. 2025, this year, I'm on the board of advisors for Street Easy. 2015 is when I started in real estate. It took about 10 years to get to this point. Everyone, for the most part, that's in our business knows that a few years can be very slow and trying, really test you if this is what you want to do. But I feel like people that stick with it and continue doing good work and stay consistent, for the most part, will build themselves up and really start making a name for themselves and reap the benefits of this, what could be great profession.
Well, I think part of it is because people like to dabble in real estate, right? It's a very low barrier to become a real estate agent, right? You don't need any high school or college degree. You just have to be 18. You basically just take a 75-hour class, pass one test, pay a little bit of money, and boom, you're a real estate agent. And so with that, people feel that it's easy and they see that you can get a lot of money when you close a deal, especially a larger deal in the city, but that's led up to a lot of work to get to that place and to put yourself in the right position, to have people trust you that they want you to work with them. A lot of people, I think, start off part time. When you started in the business, did you jump in full time or were you part time?
So when I started in the business, I had a catering company that I was running in New York City. So my schedule was very flexible. I didn't have a 9 to 5. And you do make a good point. People, just real quick, that do have this idea of, okay, I'll have my 9 to 5 and then I'll do real estate on the side, right? Like on the weekends, I'll dabble maybe during the week, in the evening. No, that's really not how it works. But my what was, I guess you can say, unique about me is that I did have a business and a lot of time at the same time, which doesn't make sense, but that's how it was. Pretty much jumped into real estate full time. I was putting in at least 30, 40 hours a week. And like I mentioned, so that was end of 2015, 2016. I really didn't start making any meaningful income till September 2019. So it took me a while. And like you said in the beginning of the podcast, Brooklyn, New York City is very competitive, very tough to get your foot in, carve out a little sort of piece of the pie for yourself. But again, with some consistent work, it took me 3 years to just start making some money.
It also depends if you're going to be coming at it from the buy side or the sell side, right? As a new agent, why would someone give you a $5 million listing when they can open up the phone or look or not, but or open up their computer and Google everybody, and they can even have agents that are focused that are on television, right? For something like that
Right.
or five. So you're competing against all of that. So part of it also is how do you like into the business. And so a lot of it would be working on the buy side, right? Because the buyers, maybe somebody who's trying to buy something for a 500,000 can't get traction of those other people. But if you're going to show the effort and then you work on getting one and then you get another one and then you get another one, and then all of a sudden you're starting to get a book of business. And of course, people that you help, friends and family, or want to buy other properties, and then will reach out to you. So from a listing standpoint, it's probably very difficult just to be like, oh, okay, I'm here, and why would you want to use me? How were your deals structured, or your percent of the business that were buy side versus sell side in the beginning, and how is that now for you?
Sure, good question. And again, good point. Also, a lot of people start with doing rentals, rental apartments. In the beginning, I was lucky to have a broker that was feeding us listings. Now, it wouldn't be my own listing. Let's say there would be my broker and maybe two other agents on it. But he was giving us these listings just so we can start doing open houses, learn what it's like to set up the open house, talk to people that come through the open house, and maybe convert them into buyer clients after the open house. But also, what happened at that time is we had a Zillow rep come into our office and do a presentation. That's when Zillow was first starting to do their lead generation program, right around 2016. So I invested a little bit of money and started buying some buyer leads from Zillow. And I would say 80% of all my deals were buy side deals, and then 20% were list side. But in the beginning, even those list side deals were the ones that my broker was feeding me. And you're a broker, so if you give some like a junior agent a listing, I was happy to walk away with, I don't know, 10%, 15% of the commission, whatever. It was really about me just being out there and getting experience for the most part.
100%. I do things a little differently, so my percents are a lot higher for the agent.
Oh, you're a good broker.
Because ultimately, when I view myself as a broker is really I'm helping them build a business, right? And I actually became a broker before I started as an agent, and then in New York, the rule is that you're supposed to be an agent for 2 years before you're able to be a broker. There's actually a way that you can expedite that, which I actually did. But I was working with brokers and I'm like, I can't believe how what my cut is. I'm never going to be able to make money because I'm giving too much to other people for my time. And so part of that is though connections, right? So 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And also those could be bigger deals, but ultimately why you would do it is because you're cutting your teeth, you're learning the lingo, and you're getting confidence and you're seeing what happens and you're be able to troubleshoot so that the next time those things happen, because that's really what it is. So in my story is basically this is like my ninth year doing this. I paid, I was getting Zillow leads, I paid for more Zillow leads. And in the beginning, they were for the most part, they were mostly buyer side. But as I started to do those, I started a friend, or my first listing was I shockingly went to a gym and my trainer had one of the people that he'd known for a while wanted to sell a small co-op in Westchester, and that was my first listing because he's one of my and then you start from that, and then that person needed to buy something, and so it kind of steamrolls, and so I think it is always important to do anything that's real estate, anything, and then you're going to learn from that and you're going to build on it. Because if we say, "Oh, I'm not going to do $100,000 co-op," or "I'm not going to do this land for 20," you don't. My view is you don't worry about the money. You worry about the working with people because working with people will lend to working with more people.
I couldn't agree more. So I lived in Brooklyn. I would go show a rental in the Bronx which was a 90-minute drive, just to show a rental, which was almost no money. I never said no to anything that came my way, no matter how far it was. You're right. I compare it to getting your driver's license, but then actually learning how to drive by driving the car and being out
Right.
there and learning just how to deal with the elements. Real estate is really similar to that. You get your license, but you really learn how to be a real estate agent by just being out there. You have to be out there.
The funny thing is, you compare it to the driver's license and then learning how to drive, except you're the person putting yourself in the car. So your risk is only what you know. In real estate, you're trying to get other people to come inside your car so that so
Yeah.
that they're like, oh, you didn't just get your license and you've never driven, you actually know how to drive properly,
Yes.
because that's the whole point. And just because you've been driving for 10 years doesn't mean that someone's going to want to get in your car with you, because you might be a terrible driver. And it's the same thing, that your experiences are the words that come out of your mouth. Your clients listen to those, and they're either gonna feel that they make sense to them, or that they feel that you don't know what you're talking about. And so every day we're proving ourselves to our clients that you're the guy that they want to be working with. Because I love the your story of driving to the Bronx, which was 90 minutes. I've driven far away as well, but you did it because you want to get that notch under your belt. And even though it might not be that much money, everyone, we know, right, that there are a lot of fees that we have to pay in real estate. So if that helped with a desk fee or a broker fee or your MLS fee, that and you know what, maybe you got it, maybe you didn't, but you and that drive and determination. If whomever asked you to show that client, if it was a listing agent or if it was just a buyer, they see what you're doing. And that, I think, is what separates top agents from agents that are just puttering around and then end up leaving, is the drive and the determination. I love that you never said no, because nothing's above us, nothing's beneath us. You just have to put in the effort. And I think that is, I think, that's your superpower, in my opinion, is that you won't take no. And you know what, if someone doesn't pick you, it's because they didn't pick you, but not because you didn't try hard enough.
Yes, exactly. Again, good point. Effort is so important and so overlooked sometimes. I think, what's been happening more and more as of late is people really that get into this business, new agents, they focus too much on taking selfies and making videos. And while that might be fun to do, and maybe it will look good to some people, from my experience, for the most part, most people appreciate actual real world effort. That's you going out with them, right? Not just, let's say you're working with a buyer, not just signing them into the open house and then texting them after, oh, how did it go? No, you really need to be there with your clients, whether it's the weekend, whether it's a evening appointment during the week, whether it's close to you or far, you have to be there. And to your point, that effort does get noticed by most people. It's a very big part of this job.
The social media, I think, is an important aspect of it, but it has to be meaningful. In the beginning, my view, and I feel that this is how you've built your business too. But in the beginning, if someone's going to offer you to do an open house, they don't pay you to do that. You have to spend 2 to 3 hours getting to the place, sitting in the place, and then being an agent in the house for people that might never use you. They might have agents, they might be looking, whatever, but you have to put in that effort. But I think where a newer agent, so many new agents don't make themselves free on the weekends. You must make yourself free on the weekends. I feel a new agent should be doing from 2 to 4 open houses. If I have listing availables, they should be doing 2 to 4 open houses every weekend. They should be begging me to do it. And sometimes I have to go and say, okay, who wants to do them this weekend? They should be like, slot me in for this and this. And then If they have buyers, try to do their buyers around open houses. Or maybe you do three and you do Saturday. I'm going to do two open houses, one on Sunday, and then I'll show before on Saturday, I'll show after on Saturday, and then Sunday I have much more time to show. But and then to do social media, if you're doing an open house, there's nothing wrong with taking those selfies and taking a video to say, oh, I'm here today at an open house, come see me. Or you even do it, you go to the place like on Thursday or Friday, do a video saying, I am going to be here on Saturday, come visit me. Because whoever the listing agent is going to love that you're actually promoting their listing and you're tagging and all that. So there are ways that you combine which the look at me in the social media actually helping to drive your work. So that's where a smarter, right, agent is going to be able to leverage those things to try to help grow their business.
Yeah, 100%. Social media could be very good to supplement your effort, boots on the ground approach, if you will. It cannot replace it.
Absolutely. So I've also noticed that so I generally will do social media posts, not videos, but a social media post when things go into contract and when I close. So not accepted offer because accepted offers to me are like a dime. Those are you get those a lot. A contract is legit, and so is closing. I'm just lucky that by doing all this work, it's turned into 65 deals a year. So I'm getting like 120 posts of 60 contracts, 65
Yeah,
contracts,
right.
65 closings. And I try to make them fun. And I always congratulate the other agent on the other side. And it's never about, I'll never say what people pay for. It's never about, oh, I got 137% over list. I would be like, that bothers me when people post that because I'm like, then you just mispriced it. If you're getting that much over, and why do
Sure.
you have to stick people? Don't stick people's face in what they paid for it. Just be happy that there's a buyer and a seller that came to an agreement and they're both happy, right? So just thank everyone and be pleasant about it. So that's how I try to do my social media. And then people see, well, oh, he had another closing, he had another this, he had another that. So that's where social media can help, right? Because people see that I'm busy. So it's not saying anything about the place. It's just, oh, I'm busy because it's my full-time job. And you say the same thing. What are some of the trends that you see that buyers and sellers in today's market? Because New York City, I think, is a little different, and things like geopolitical things happen all the time. And I don't have to be the first to tell you that there's a mayoral election in New York City coming up, and there's already getting, depending on who wins, is that going to change real estate? So things like that can happen. What trends are you seeing right now in Brooklyn and Manhattan?
So the market pretty much is holding steady, I would say. It's not necessarily on fire or anything like that. It's also, I wouldn't call it slow. The looming election coming up next month is on some people's mind. I would probably say people bring it up more often at a higher price point. For example, what's the best word I can find for this? Maybe your middle class, which is like your city workers, your firemen, police officers, your nurses, your teachers. These people will make the money that they're making no matter who's mayor, no matter who's president. They're moving on with their lives as they were gonna anyways. Higher price point people whose income is maybe tied to some investments in New York City or who are worried about the tax implications of a new mayor coming in. It hasn't happened to me personally, but just an anecdote that I've heard a colleague say. He has a contract right now for an 8-figure deal, and there's a clause in the contract that if Mamdani wins, the buyer gets his deposit back and the deal is void. So,
Wow.
yes, again, higher price point. Some people are maybe a little bit anxious, but my average price point is maybe right around like I would say from 1.5 to 2.5 million. And I don't have these conversations a lot. And if people do ask, oh, what's going to happen? My answer, as pretty much with anything, is that New York City is so resilient that the impact on housing will probably be minimal.
Well,
So
I say that too, where the geopolitical world, while that's happening every day, and it has been, people still need places to live. And we're not prognosticators about what will happen because we wouldn't know that, right? So for us to say this is going to happen or that's going to happen, if this person wins or that, those are things that are outside our pay grade, but also things that we can't really predict. And so I felt like it's always good to stay in our lane, right?
yes, I
And and stay in our lane in the sense also that I don't take sides, right? I actually have no political affiliation because both sides bother me equally. But ultimately, whether you're blue, red, purple, pink, I don't care. So my job is to help you either sell a place or buy a place. Those other things, you're going to have to get that information from lawyers, accountants, political pundits, whatever. It's not going to, I feel it's not going to do me any good. First, who knows? And second, it's like, I'm just trying to deal with people. I'm trying to help people accomplish goals. And so that's in the real estate world. And when you make that your lane, it feels like it's simpler, right?
yeah, actually I was gonna say I really do try to stay apolitical, not get involved in any sort of politics. These conversations do come up and you do need to say something. Some people, some clients will just say, okay. Some of them maybe a little bit more persistent. They keep like pushing and probing. I think it's no secret that which way most of the people in New York are leaning politically. But you made a very good point. As a real estate agent, our job is really to sell your place for the best price possible or to find you a place for the best price possible. People ask me tax questions all the time. People ask me legal questions all the time. They want to get into these other debates, political, cultural, or otherwise. And I always say, in a nutshell, let me connect you with my attorney, right? This is a better question for him. You should really
Right.
consult your accountant, all those things. So stay in your lane, I think, is a very good way of putting it. And it's just really gonna, I guess you can say, keep you out of trouble because you don't want to start answering legal or tax questions. And then let's say you're in contract and something comes up and your client is gonna say, hey, wait a second, you said my tax is gonna be this, but now it's that.
Right.
So I really do try to stay away from pretty
Well,
much anything outside of real estate with my clients.
what I try to do is let people know that things that can be done, but you need to speak to the subject matter expert in that, right? Being the lawyer, the accountant, whatever, because some first time buyers like, oh, I'm going to buy a property and I'm going to rent it and everything's going to be amazing. And well, everything's amazing until it's not amazing. It's amazing until your tenants don't pay rent. And how do you evict? And,
Right. Not to cut you off. And guess what, Daniel? For the most part, it's always gonna come back to us that it's our fault, right?
exactly. Or people that are buying properties and I notice that maybe they're not putting it into an LLC. That's a strategy to protect yourself from liability and also from a business perspective. So what is your goal? And so it's really just bringing up ideas and then trying to direct people to the right person. For the same thing, if people are going to say, "Oh, we want to do construction and we're going to do this," and you're like, you have to tell them what the rules are. Oh, in your town, that town, if you wanted to properly do that, you got to pull paper, you got to pull permits, and you got to do this and that. And so we just have to let people know what the rules are. It's not our job. We're not the policemen and we don't have to enforce what the rules are. But what you said is perfect. I've gotten clients now that are long-term clients because they bought a flip and the agent that sold them the flip actually says, oh, I'm also a contractor and then basically did all this work in the house, never pulled a permit. And then when they went to sell the house, the towns, via looking at the Zillow, saw that all this work was done and no permits were pulled, and it was a hassle. So it was more than a hassle, but and they were like, "Oh, the person never told me that," and that's something that buyers do need to be more aware of that, but not everyone, some people are too trusting or they choose to trust. And so we have to make sure that we're guiding people down the right path so that because exactly what you said, 3 years down the road, you're going to get a legal letter that says you told my client they could do this. And you're like, what are you talking about? And so
Exactly.
so it's
Exactly.
always good to let people know what the rules are, to get people involved and letting them know that there are subject matter experts in the legal profession and the architectural and contracting who can do that. So those are important things. What would you say, what are some of the elements that you try to work on to try to not just to get a client for a one-time sale, but to try to keep people for long-term client, whether they buy and sell with you, whether they buy more things, or whether they refer their client, their friends, family, and colleagues?
Sure, good question. We have a really good software at my firm here at Corcoran, but for the most part, you really try to remember people's birthdays, when they closed on a house, send them something around the holidays, whatever holidays they might be celebrating. Just really know the touch points, when to reach out to them. Something could happen. For example, if your clients bought a house within the last 2 years and the interest rate is 7, now let's say the rate comes down to 5. I'm sure lenders will be reaching out to them, but you can always also reach out to them like, hey, just FYI, the rate is 2% lower than what you're paying now. Maybe you should look into refinancing. Just offer some value even after they closed. But again, for the most part, is just staying in touch and knowing when to stay in touch and knowing, again, birthday's a good one, right? Happy birthday, remembering their kids. Hey, how's, I don't know, Billy's soccer, how's he doing? Just things like that. I think are
I also have this. Yeah. Or you could be crazy what I did, and I wrote a book this summer, The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. It's 13 chapters. It's all factual stories of my clients.
awesome.
And so at my book launch, I actually had 150 clients at my house. It was tented. I catered it with alcohol,
Oh,
and
nice.
it was like a tribute to my clients, thanking them for working with me. And it was pretty funny because people were walking around the backyard and they were like, "Oh, I'm chapter 10. I'm chapter 6." And
Yeah, that's great. That's honestly, that's amazing that you did that.
so you can go buy it. It's on Amazon, The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. It's only
I'll
nine ninety.
definitely
It's
get
only
myself
nine
a
ninety
copy.
nine, and you
Yeah,
can review it. So that's
for sure.
but it's stories of some of the crazy things that I've had to do and to get deals closed and to work with people. So as we know, it's not always so easy, but it's the thought process. And so we talked about it before. It's not just being out there and being in the open houses. You also need to have a little bit of smarts with you, right? You have to be creative in the when it's much more of a seller's market. You have to, and you're representing a buyer, you need to be, what are some of the things that you've done to have your buyers deals stick out over other people's? So what have you done?
Okay, sure. So in a seller's market, let's say I go to an open house with my buyer. There's 20 other groups in that open house. The first thing you need to do immediately after you leave that open house is say to your buyers, look, you see how many people are here? This is a bidding war. So prepare your buyers to bid over ask, right? And then, you say, I'll see how much over the ask we have to go. Then I call the listing agent. Not a lot of, I don't know if that's been your experience, but I've found newer agents don't like talking on the phone. Everything is email, text, email, text. I always pick up the phone. Let's say I came to your open house. I'll call you. Let's say the open house is Sunday at noon. I'll call you Sunday 4 p.m. Hey, Daniel, I was just at your open house. Great property. My buyers love me. Love me. My buyers love the house. what sort of a response have you gotten from other people? Just try to get some information out of you. For the most part, the listing agent will say, hey, thanks for calling. Yeah, we had a great turnout. I'm expecting 2 offers. I'm expecting 3 offers, something like that. Say, okay, fantastic. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. Then I'll talk to my buyers. We'll start preparing an offer. Then I'll call you again. I'll say, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to be sending you an offer. I want to make the offer competitive. I'll tell you a little bit about my buyers over the phone, what they do, how serious they are, how we won't cause you any problems. We'll just do an inspection. We're not going to ask for any concessions. All those things. I'm really going to try to make you feel comfortable potentially working with me. And I'm going to give you as much information about the buyers as possible. Then I'm going to put, of course, a competitive offer. But a lot of times, besides the offer, those conversations that I've had with you on the phone leading up to us making an offer help you pick my clients over someone else with a similar offer, maybe even like 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, a little bit more than what we offered. But since you spoke with me and I gave you all those reassurances, you go to your client, the seller, and you say, hey, these 2 offers are very similar, but this guy's been calling. He told me all about the buyers, how serious they are, how we're not going to have any headaches. I really feel more confident going with them than just someone who just emailed you, right? And never spoke with you, never made that extra effort to get you familiar with his clients. So that's very important. And I don't think a lot of people do that, that in a bidding war, it's not really just the price. Your job as a buyer's agent is also to connect with the listing agent and paint your clients in the best light possible, apart just from the money. And also tell the listing agent how little headache, no headache, he will have if he works with you as opposed to these other agents.
I think those are great strategies. I try to do those as well because ultimately you want to get to the closing table.
Exactly.
And you know what? I've gotten to the closing table with zero money down in doctors loans or VA
I'm
loans.
doing one right now. Yeah.
It's you can, so then in those situations you're like, well, my lender, look how this guy, he's just in a program. That's why he has the money, but he doesn't need to put it down. So there's a lot of ways that you can structure that. Ultimately, as long as we can sit at a closing table, that's what's important. And I think what's also good is, yes, the more that you talk to people, clearly if you've done deals with that broker in the past, they're gonna, it helps or doesn't help, right? It helps. It depends on what type of person you are. If you're an agent that gets deals closed and you're hassle free, then it's going to be a benefit because you're like, yo, you've worked with the person before and we got to the closing table. But on the other hand, if your client was really harder to get there, they couldn't get in touch with you, they dilly-dallied, they delayed, whatever, then you for slightly are a reflection of your buyer or of your clients because they're going to bring those things up as well. So that's why it's also very important to always be professional because every deal that I have now that's going on, they might be buyers later, they might be sellers or whatever. And my reputation, that's all I have, right? And so you're trying to build a reputation so that if I have a deal with you, you're going to be like this, or you're going to tell me, listen, you're a little under our best offer right now, but I know that you get to the closing table. So you need to come up a little bit and get there. And so you get those little extra things of help because in the end of the day, the listing agent just wants to close just like you want to close, right? And so if there's 20 people bidding on a property, they only can close one, but you're bidding against 20 other people. So you're trying to help make the listing agent's job as easy as possible to know that that you're going to hassle free get them to a closing table.
Yes, exactly. I'll just add to that is a lot of buyers agents, you made a very good point. We want the same thing, right? Which is we want to come get to the closing table. A lot of buyer's agents, in a misguided effort to over represent their clients, I call it, make the listing agent's life miserable, right? We do the inspection. Oh, there's a crack in the wall. And they really put on their cape and try to get their clients another like 100, $200 just to prove their worth. That look what I'm doing for you. Look how hard I'm fighting for you. I always say, because I do a ton of buy side deals, and people ask me questions about this all the time. I always say, if you found a house that your buyer is in love with, your job becomes to get them that house, right? Don't negotiate them out of the deal. Don't make it overcomplicated. If it's something they truly love, you have to get them that. That's your job, to get them the house. And part of you getting them the house is having a good relationship with the listing agent and having the listing agent comfortable working with you. So 100%. I've seen this a lot when I'm on the list side. The buyer's agent, and I'm sure you've seen that too, is just overly negotiating everything for no reason or fighting you tooth and nail over the simplest things. And guess what? If someone else comes along with another offer that is not making my life miserable, I'll just work with them. I guess what I'm trying to say is, and reinforce your point here, if you show good effort, you, Daniel, might call that buyers and say, hey, I need 5 grand more, and the house is yours. If they are pain in the neck, you're not going to call them because you don't want to work with them, and they're going to
Yeah.
lose the house.
I recently sold a house where the wife said, go get the house. And it was priced over list because the listing agent strategy was to underlist it to try to drive bids, but they didn't have other bids. But they basically were like, we're not selling under this. And eventually it's not my job to tell someone if it's worth it or not, because that wasn't the question. The question was when the wife said, go get me the house. So the wife said, go get me the house. So then the husband's like, Dan, get my wife the house. And so they knew what the price point was to get the house. So we did that. Then after inspections, we found it was interesting because there was no laundry machine, no washing machine and dryer, and they weren't putting it in. And there was another septic issue. It's how do you talk about it? Where in the end of the day, I got a credit for a washing machine and dryer, and I also got money to fix some of the septic, and it had nothing, and it was all about how I asked for it, and I probably even laid down and said, I know you don't have to do this, but it would be really nice. My clients are spending $1.15 million. It would be really nice if they could have a washing machine and dryer, and also that we could fix this. It wasn't part of the deal. It was like, it would be really nice for us to be able, and they made more of a commission than I did. Whether they were going to pay for it, they got their whatever. And just by asking politely, I ended up getting both. So I'm like, this is not affecting us going to contract, but I would really like to do it. And by saying it that way, we they got it. And so it's not always the ask, it's how you ask, right?
Yes,
And so that's where all agents are not the same, where I shouldn't be worried, or neither of us should be worried about AI taking over for us and having robots, because robots can't do that, or at least not probably until we're retired. So that will be okay. But,
right.
you
No,
know,
I agree. You don't have to treat the other agent as your adversary. Talk to them with respect, treat them nicely. And yeah, sure, you might get these additional concessions. At the end of the day, on the other side of the transaction, there's a human being. And I feel like sometimes that's lost, where people really like to roll up their sleeves and say, okay, let's go to war. Let's, like buyers and sellers, you see them bump heads all the time.
yeah,
So I really try to prevent that. Let's all be respectful. Let's all be cordial. Let's all be nice. We want the same thing again, as I always say. You want to buy the house, this person wants to sell it. Let's make this as easy and as least stressful as possible. And
I
I
think
just real quick
when people
make
are being fair, I think when people are fair to each other, that's a much easier thing. I think what you're saying is 100% and can be done. It's when one side's trying to take advantage of the other side. And that's sometimes when you do have to step up and then be like, put on your Superman cape and protect your seller or your buyer from things that are happening. But we don't have to start there. That's more of, we have to go there when it's time. And sometimes we could have buyer or a seller that is forcing bad things to happen. And that's where the agent, where we need to put our capes on and basically protect, move the deal along respectfully, right? And so your client could be asking for ridiculous things, my client, but how do we then together? And it's not you, it's not me, but how do we get there? And most times you can get everyone there, and there might be cases where it just doesn't happen, and that's the way it is. And but in that case, we've separated ourselves from our clients. We're only trying to show what their position is to try to get a deal done. But in the end of the day, I have a reputation, you have a reputation, and that reputation is our livelihood. So we can't let a seller or a buyer tarnish our reputation from things that they're demanding. But there's a way to work through it, to communicate respectfully what people's positions are. And if we have a meeting of the minds, great. And if we don't, it wasn't because you or I did anything that was not professional. So that's the way I try to work on it.
Yeah, same. And I was gonna say, I do want to make clarify, I guess, one thing is I definitely fight for my clients, but like you said, when it's necessary. The point I'm trying to make is that sometimes people pick fights where there shouldn't be any. And
Yep.
that's really counterproductive for everyone. You made a good point in the beginning. I'm always cordial, always respectful. But if I see somebody, I guess you can say, trying to take advantage of that, then yes, of course, they'll receive pushback. But I pretty much agree with everything you just said. Yeah.
Well, great. Since no one ever agrees with everything I just said, that's a great point for us to call it a show. I appreciate you coming on. I love your desire, your energy, can do spirit. Those are things that sometimes people don't always view real estate agents as professional and as real, like a real profession. But you obviously take it seriously. You put in the time, and your clients must love working with you. Thank you again for sharing some of your tidbits on this week's episode. I appreciate you. Good luck in Brooklyn and Manhattan and wherever else it takes you. Obviously, I know that if I have people looking to buy or sell in those areas, I you're in my Rolodex now. So thank you for that. And
Yeah,
everyone,
no, I appreciate you having me on. It was a great conversation, and I actually picked up a few bits of wisdom from you. Thank you so much for your
in the
time.
book, you might be able to get a couple others, and so that's never bad. But thank you very much, everyone. For it's Daniel Berger with the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Thank you for tuning in. Until next episode, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me on the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the podcast. A big shout out to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, for making this all possible. Remember to leave a review if you enjoyed the show. It helps more people find us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep exploring the adventures in your neighborhood. I'm Daniel Berger, your New York realtor, and I'll see you in the next episode.